And now, we've come to the portion of our show where we have to ask, what just happened? We can't believe it either, but let's take a look back at the insanity that was this week and look ahead to what will make us facepalm next week. This is What Just Happened on the Dean Obeidallah Show. Take it away, Dean.
Thank you, generic announcer man. I'm Dean Obeidallah, and I'm so happy to be here. It's Friday, May 3rd. We have two great people for What Just Happened, our weekly look back at the insanity that was this week, and this week gave us a lot of craziness. First of all, comedian Carole Montgomery is back. You may have seen her Showtime special, Women of a Certain Age. It was great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Funny Women of a Certain Age. It was really great stuff. And it was good to see my friends like Lynn in it, and
everyone was
Carrie.
Carrie Louise.
Some I knew her personally. I'm not saying.
Lynn Copley. Do you know
Lynn,
Vanessa?
Lynn, I know. And Vanessa, yes, it was
Vanessa
great. It was like all
Hopkinson.
my friends. All my friends are now of a certain age, apparently.
We are all very, very,
I'm going to
very
deny my age. That's it.
old.
I am not of a certain age. And someone clearly younger than both of us, so we hate him. It's Xorje Olivares, who hosts Affirmative Reaction every Saturday on this very channel. How are you, Xorje?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, my friend.
I feel like we should expect to have like 3 doors which we should choose a prize from based off of that announcer. Like there needs to be like behind door number 1.
That
I
the
like
salted pistachio.
Yeah.
Well, the little
Exactly.
backstory is Carole can't eat salty things for various reasons. And
I'm old.
the snacks they bring on Friday tend to have some salt. So
Some salt.
What doesn't have salt at this point?
that's
I
the
know.
problem.
That actually, it's really interesting because when you start to look at what is like, it's in everything. It's either salt or it's corn syrup. So
Is corn syrup bad too? Salt, I knew.
corn syrup is, it's really bad.
It turns
for
into
you.
salt?
No, it's just
It converts in your blood.
it's sugar. It's salt or sugar.
No sugar for you either.
I eat sugar. I
Who
shouldn't.
doesn't?
Yeah, but it's in everything. Like so, there's not
There's no escaping.
There's no escaping.
I got my 23andMe. I did a 23andMe test. I just got
Wait,
it.
Speaking
They're
of
sponsored.
salt.
I know.
No, but they have things in there about like
It tells you weird stuff about dietary
right. It
things.
does.
Right,
that was
right,
my
right.
point, and also the
Absolutely.
increased chance for diabetes, which it runs in my family, so I knew about that. But other things, I thought it was interesting. My breakdown. Did you guys, either of you, do the genetic test?
No, I have
We
not.
did it so maybe 2 years ago, because sometimes we'll do ads for John Fugelsang's show where I work Monday through Friday. And one of them was for 23andMe. And so we all took the 23andMe test together.
Right.
So that's when Neil Golub was still the senior producer of the show. It was myself and then it was John. And so Neil and I took it, and Neil came out 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he
That's
had
shocking.
one color.
Do you know?
And then myself, I was a third Iberian, a third Native American, and then a third like all these other mixtures. But it does say like, oh, if you you are more inclined to like the taste of cilantro.
Very interesting. It does say this, yeah.
Like when you pee, you'll smell, or your pee will smell if you eat asparagus.
Right.
Like it'll give you all that
I know
information
that,
randomly
but
from your 23andMe.
Right. I mean, that.
But everyone's piece.
No, but that
smells
don't ruin
after
the whole
asparagus.
thing, Carole. We understand that, right? Now, for mine, it came back. Here's the thing. First of all, I
He
think
came
it's-
out Ashkenazi Jew,
I
which was
know.
amazing.
So.
What's remarkable is that it comes back with people's religion, Ashkenazi Jews. I've seen it on their sample thing. So I want to start one where everybody comes back Muslim. Like there's like at least 5%, just so you like Muslims more.
Right.
And if you're a Trump supporter, it comes back like 90% Muslim.
Oh,
Just to freak them
absolutely.
out and like,
Oh.
I'm 29% Muslim. That's my impression of every Trump supporter out there. I'm 90% Muslim. I hate myself.
There
Go ahead.
was I don't know if it was Viva Aerobus or it was like one of the Mexican airlines, and they had this ad that aired in Texas where they went to people in I don't know where, if it was South Texas or somewhere in Texas, where was a bunch of Trump supporters, and they said, we're going to give you this test and we're going to find out how much Mexican you are. And they said, however much Mexican you are, you'll get that percentage as a discount for our next flight.
Oh my God.
And so everybody's like, I fucking hate Mexicans and this and that. And then they're like, well, you are 12% Mexican and you have a 12% discount on our next flight. Cool. Where do I get to go?
That's what does it.
Yeah.
It
changes
Guess what
people's
I came back?
perspective.
I came back very close to what my parents are. I mean, it was like 58%. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 58%, a combination Northern African, and what would they call Arabian in their word, which is really Western Asia. That's what it really technically is, like Saudi. But Northern Africa, because even though I'm Palestinian, it's Egyptian. Generations before, they had migrated from Egypt over to what was then Palestine. So I'm a quarter African right off the bat.
Wow.
The other side,
cool.
all Southern Italian, not just Italian. Like my mom's Sicilian. all Southern Italian on my mom's side, which shows my Sicilian family was like, they were born in Sicily, like, we're done. We're not going anywhere. We're never moving again. Keep the Christmas lights up all year. We're Sicilians. And then that's what happened. So,
and it's cool. It's cool when you look into it a little bit, because then it'll say, do you want to know about your DNA family? And then you can click different countries, and then it'll go even smaller and smaller to tell you about specifics.
Anything shocking for you? Anything that you didn't know?
I thought I was going to be a little more Native American because
you knew you were, right? This wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, so I found out when I was in college, I was doing
From your
this.
Aunt Elizabeth Warren? No. Hey, I'm here all week, everybody. Tip the waitresses. Good night. I got the light. I got to go.
So when I was doing a paper because I was a Mexican-American studies major in college, and I was doing this paper about my family history, and my grandmother said that her grandparents were indigenous, that they didn't speak Spanish. They spoke this other language.
Wow.
And that at the time I knew her maiden name to be Morales, and she said, that's not really my maiden name. My maiden name, your great-grandfather, so her father, picked it because he thought, this is a very common Spanish last name among our community, so we'll just pick it and use it so that way nobody makes fun of us. So this whole thing of like, oh, what are we? So I think my aunt is starting to look a little bit more into it because my grandma has since passed away. But look into like, what tribe was that all about? Because she was born in Oklahoma, so that we think it's somewhere in Oklahoma. So I thought it was a little bit more than a third, but a third is a significant amount.
Very much so. So, all right, we've had enough. Now, unfortunately, Carole Montgomery could not play in our little.
I just know that I'm an Ashkenazi Jew. That's
100%. But genetically, you're simply so.
Actually, I'm a quarter German. I'm 3/4 Russian, and my grandfather on my mother's side, it was like half German, so I'm quarter German. So.
Well, okay, let's talk about a guy who's not fond of Muslims or Jews or Mexicans.
Or
Donald
Germans.
Trump.
He's fond of Germans. He loves Germans.
Donald Trump today, this is bizarre. First of all, we don't have to relitigate it, but we went through it. Malcolm Nance was just on all the attacks on our election system, 2016 by the Russians. Undisputed. You don't have to get into collusion stuff, which doesn't even exist, but you don't have to get in that. They attacked us. There's no doubt from the Kremlin order.
Oh, absolutely.
Trump today calling it a Russian hoax on Twitter, and then he had a phone call with Putin. And listen to this phone call. I mean, not the phone call part. Him actually being.
I was like, you had the audio.
No, I wish I had
call?
that. No, awesome. Him being. Listen to him. He gets asked a question by a reporter, and he just snaps. Listen to how upset he is. Here's clip number 3, please.
We'll be talking about non-proliferation. We'll be talking about a nuclear deal of some kind, and I think it'll be a very comprehensive one.
Mr. President, did you address the election meddling issues that came up in the Mueller report with Mr. Putin today?
We discussed it. He actually sort of smiled when he said something to the effect that it started off as a mountain and it ended up being a mouse, but he knew that because he knew there was no collusion whatsoever. Pretty much that's what it was.
Did you tell him not to meddle, Mr. President? Did you tell him not to meddle in the next election?
Excuse me, I'm answering this question. You are very rude. So we had a good conversation about many different things, okay?
Did you ask him not to meddle
in the next election?
We didn't discuss that. Really, we didn't discuss it. We discussed 5 or 6 things.
All right, so we'll get out there. That's you get the point. I didn't discuss that, even though they attacked our elections, and his director of national intelligence testified just a few months ago that Russia is still planning to attack our election, again, as China might as well. Is it remarkable to see Donald Trump continue to call something that's not a hoax, the actual attack by Russia on our system, a hoax? And the Republicans used to be all about, we hate communism and Russians. They're just silent. They don't say a thing.
The thing that always, first of all, somebody told him, because he's not a very, shall we say, smart man.
Right.
Somebody told him, keep saying no collusion.
Right.
Because that sounds professional. And I always say, but this wasn't, he did, he's trying to prove, he's trying to say that he had no collusion with them, which means he didn't do anything with them. But that doesn't mean that Russia didn't do this stuff.
Right, exactly.
And he's, every day I just go, he's such an idiot. He's parroting somebody. Somebody is in his ear. Maybe it's Stephen Miller. Maybe it's Mitch McConnell. I don't know who it is, but he doesn't.
The devil.
Maybe the devil, probably the devil. But what's fascinating about the Republicans, and you're right, it's like this. We're talking about they're the communists.
Ronald Reagan used to call them the evil empire. Now
Right,
he's
and-
my buddy, Pooh,
Yeah,
and I was talking to Pootie, and we're like buddies
I was
now.
talking
But are the Republicans going to complain about Russian meddling when they themselves are doing their own sense of meddling by voter suppression?
Right.
They're equally
just-
doing something
right.
just as terrible, but they're doing it in the terms that they know it to be. And so that's one thing. The other thing is it's interesting to see, yes, Trump is an idiot, but it just goes to show you how malicious the people in his inner circle are, because they know what's going on and they're highly intelligent enough to know that it's been going on since we first learned about it. And still trying to drive this narrative that it's impossible to have happened when we know the truth.
But he and his whole administration, they're con artists. So they think if you like from Field of Dreams, if you build it, he will come. If they keep saying it, they will make it true, and that's what they keep doing. They just keep talking about it, and it's so evil. It's just so like you watch
It's beyond stupid to me. It's actually sinister and evil and diabolical.
right
That's what I see it as.
that you have these, and they're just going after a certain, because maybe they know that the election's already in the bag. I mean, who the hell knows what they know? Because there are still people that I know that think he's doing a great job, and I'm
Sure
like,
there are. Yes, I know.
what?
It would be fascinating to know how this would all be playing out if Twitter, social media, and all these different entities didn't exist. Because we live in this day and age where
Yes.
we can choose to believe what we want to believe because we put ourselves in those chambers. So I can go to my Twitter page and I can be surrounded by everybody who tells me that Trump's an idiot, that Trump is doing all these wrong
Right.
things, that he's being ill-advised, and I will believe that. But there's also substance to believe that. If people who want to believe Trump just continue to put themselves in those Facebook groups, in those Twitter pages,
Right.
and listen to the Daily Stormers or all these other, or go to these different websites, I think then of course you're going to think that what that person is saying is true, because you're finding, it's the same thing like if you Google something, you think, oh my God, am I dying? I think I have cancer. And you Google everything to prove that you have cancer. That's exactly what this is. You want to prove that Donald Trump is a good president, so you'll Google
Right.
everything you can to prove that Russia didn't meddle and that he's a good president.
But besides that, in sort of an engagement I had this week with someone who was a woman I knew from Paramus, who was involved in the Democrats over there when I used to be involved in Paramus Democrats years ago. And I thought she was liberal. I don't know. She's an older woman. And she became my friend on Facebook, and I post so much anti-Trump stuff. That's what I do. And she was like, grow up. He's the best president ever. So, and then she emails me on Facebook, and I go, the guys, and I put a lot of the list of his hateful stuff, which I knew she wouldn't like. She just ignored it. She goes, but the economy is great. It's the best it's ever been. Without going, because she cannot respond to each of the things, from Muslim ban to demonizing Latinos, to banning transgender Americans, and the list goes on. So instead of even engaging on that, because they can't, they just go, the economy is great. It's the best I've ever been. As if it doesn't matter everything else he did. And I don't believe she subscribes to the other things about her, because I knew her. She was a nurse. She was a caring human being. And she's an older Jewish woman. It's like, why would you be cool with any of
Well,
this?
you mentioned Jew, and now there's the economy, so it's just Jews equal money. So that's now it's fascinating when people are talking about the economy. Now, when my father passed away, he left me a little bit of money, not a lot. I can't move anywhere, but it's like a little. So
There's
I
a bit
have
of comfort now.
Yeah, and he had it in something. He had it in whatever, because he was a teacher, and I. What was it? A couple of months ago when the stock market tanked.
Yeah.
Like I lost like $6,000 in one day. And that to me is a lot of money.
Sure.
So how is it?
That's what I kind of tip people. I'm like, here's $6,000.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
There's
like,
Mr.
it may
Dean's
not-
here with his money, sir.
But
Go ahead.
I know that it's not a lot of money to some people, but
It's
to
a
me,
fair
I was
amount of
like,
money.
I literally looked at it and I went, oh, we just lost $6,000. And now, granted, it's the stock market, and I never did the stock market. This is the money that my father put in something, so we're just saying, well, it's not. I don't want to touch it. Let's just keep it there. And it did come back, but it went down first, and that was because of this asshole who's he had a lot to do with it, because people
lot to
get
do.
nervous.
Yes.
So when people say the economy, I'm like, I don't get it.
Well, it was a poll earlier on CNN asking Americans, have you benefited from the Trump since he's been president economically? And about 40% said yes, and over 50% said no.
Right.
So you can tell people, I've learned this one thing. You can't convince people the economy is better than it is to them personally, nor can you tell them it's worse than it is to them personally. Whatever is affecting you personally, that's the economy.
Right,
So if you're
absolutely.
making more money now under Trump, you might give him credit. If you're not, you don't care. The stock market hit record, unemployment's low. You don't care. What's that? Doesn't help you and your family.
Right. And what
so
about the
right now it's not
taxes?
help. Right. It's not, and the tax cut has not helped people. It's helped the wealthy and mostly corporations for stock buybacks, and executive compensation is tagged to that. So the wealthy have gotten wealthier. That's undisputed. So it's not trickling down. That's why his numbers are not great. People are like, why, with this economy, why isn't he doing better in approval ratings? One is that he's horrible as a human being, and
Yes.
people see that. Secondly, it's not helping most Americans. It's just not, and that's what the polls are showing.
But the tax break, I mean, I can't tell you how many like comedians on Facebook, will be like, hey, do you know we're good accountant? I know at
Those
least
1099s will get you.
Yeah, it'll kill you. But I know so many comics that are like, and not just comics. I have friends. They all got hit hard this year. They did not get what they thought. Like everyone is used to getting some kind of check.
Right.
I'm just happy when I don't have to pay.
Right,
I don't
right,
expect a refund because but. And so many people said, I used to get like, $5,000 back. I'm getting $1,000. Now that hurts.
It definitely does because you count on it too. A lot of people do count on it, and you lose a lot of deductions. People who are acting in our fields, there are other things you could deduct in the past. Now you lost them under the new Trump plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you live in states with high state and local taxes, the SALT deduction's been capped at $10,000. So states like New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, California, it's been a tax increase for many of those people. So it's actually a tax hike.
I couldn't deduct as much as my student loan interest as I had in the years past.
Yeah. Wow.
Which really sucks.
Wow.
Well, I work here, so I don't get paid, so it's kind of all right.
That's okay.
So,
That's okay.
we're
shouldn't have
going to
laughed
take a
at
break and come back and talk about Facebook blocking certain people. And what do you guys think? Is it good, bad? Are you concerned? Good now, but is it bad in the long run? We'll be right back with our friends Carole Montgomery and Xorje Olivares right after this break.
Where are the doors?
The Dean Ovidala Show.
My slogan for Trump in 2020, Trump for prison 2020.
SiriusXM Progress. Your entire week's exhausting news broken down in one hilarious hour. What Just Happened is now live with Dean Obeidallah.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show here. We're live Friday, May 3rd, in studio, comedian Carole Montgomery and friend of comedians, Xorje Olivares, who hosts his own show, Affirmative Reaction, every Saturday, and works on John Fugelsang's show as a producer. Carole, before we go any further, there's some big show you're doing in D.C. Tell us now.
Oh, he's so good.
I know.
So
Goes
smooth.
right to it.
Well, because of the special, this is really exciting.
Showtime special, folks. Check it out.
Showtime, Funny Women of a Certain Age with Fran Drescher. And we started to move into big arenas. We were really doing well between 200 and 300. And now we're moving into a couple of bigger theaters like 500 and up and everything. And so we're doing the Birchmere in the D.C. area, June 9th. It's me, Carrie Louise, and Vanessa Hollingson.
I know all of you guys are great comics all the time. And the Birchmere sounds like something in the not in the Catskills or something.
Yeah.
We're playing in the Birchmeres on
it's called
two special, early bird dinner special, and then the later show. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's a little dirty in the late one, but it's okay.
It's dirty in both of them. He does a very good Jew.
I was going to say, that was
I'm
pretty damn
Semitic.
good.
My good friends are Scott Blakeman's one of my best friends.
I know he
Scott
is.
is like Woody Allen of younger Woody Allen, slightly younger at this point.
Yeah, no, it's but it's called the Birchmere Music Hall, and it's I think I want to say it's Alexandria, so it's in that DC bubble.
It's a great city for comedy. I love DC for comedy.
Yeah,
really
so
do.
I'm excited. We're just it's June
What day
9th.
June 9th?
June 9th. It's a Sunday, and so we just started doing the promotion because that's the one thing I've learned, by the way, just in this whole thing about branding and. Oh God! But I've learned how to do you know how comics are. Comics are like nobody's coming to my show. That's because you decided to post it the day of the fucking show
And do no work. You have
And
to
do
really
no work.
hustle. You really have to hustle. People don't realize unless you're famous. Like I interviewed Louis Black today. Like there are certain people who put their name up they can sell. He even does press.
Right.
But for us, you have to network. You've got to reach out to organizations that are like-minded that might want to come out, offer them tickets. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and comics don't think because we are as a group, and because you've had many on your show.
Yeah,
we are they're lazy, and when I actually posted this on Facebook about a couple of weeks after the show aired. I wrote because people were actually saying, "How did you get the show?"
That's how they always do.
I was walking down the street and somebody went, "Would you like a Showtime special?" Had nothing to do with the 40 years that I've busted my ass for this. But that's exactly what it is. It's every day. Every goddamn day you're up and you're working on getting that show out. So that's why.
And where's the website for tickets? Did you mention?
It's the Birchmere at thebirchmere.com.
How do you spell Birchmere?
Birchmer.
Who
Carrie
is
Louise.
Lebanese.
Yes.
So she's Arab. We've done some shows together. And Vanessa, I used to do all shows with Vanessa all the time.
Yeah.
And she'd always be like, you should put me in your Arab shows. I performed in Iraq for the troops. I'm like, that's not really connecting the way you would think that would be.
She's adorable.
I
She was
performed
on
with
John's
people who
show
were
this week. I
killing
haven't seen her in a
people who
while.
were related to people in the audience. I'm like, I don't really think it's going to sell the way you think it would. But she meant in the best of ways. So I wasn't she was like, and I can connect. And I would do jokes about prayers and stuff, and they're going to love it. I'm like, they're not going to love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to leave first. I'm going to just run. I'm like, do not do these. So, all right, so let's talk about Facebook did this. It's very interesting. Yesterday they announced banning a whole bunch of people from Facebook. Not a whole bunch, but a fair number.
A good amount.
Right, and the list included Alex Jones, just crazy, Paul Nealon, who most people don't know. I've interacted a little bit, very anti-Muslim, just racist guy, Republican. Milo, everyone knows him. Paul Joseph Watson, who works with Alex Jones. Laura Loomer, who's horrific, who blocked me a long time ago on Twitter. Very anti-Muslim.
Isn't she the one that changed
herself? And then Louis Farrakhan, who's really not among this group. He's just different, but he has a history of anti-Semitism. The others have a different history of stuff, which is, it's all across the spectrum of extreme rhetoric, some more frequent. That's what they do, some here and there. In any event, they made a choice to ban them.
Well, I think that when they were writing the list down of the people, they went, we only have white guys, let's get a black dude. Because they
diversify.
They had to be diverse to get rid of the racist groups.
Well, and by the way, if you don't know, Paul Watson's the editor of InfoWars, Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, look at the list here, Nealon, white supremacist politician. And Milo Lormer, most people don't know, he's just horrible. She's horrible. And so what's your reaction to Facebook and Instagram as well, because it's the same company now, banning these people? Like they're just banned. They're gone.
So it bans their personal pages. It bans their like
Everything.
public
They
persona
can't create another
page.
page. It removed the accounts, fan pages, and groups affiliated with these individuals. And they can't create a new account. If they find out it's them, they're going to ban it as well.
Nothing about the administration. What about his page?
Exactly.
He's the biggest racist going.
So I got my Facebook when I was, I was a freshman in college. So I've had Facebook for at least 10 years.
Right.
And of course, like everybody does in this day and age, you see like, oh, do you accept the terms and services or terms and conditions? Yeah, sure, whatever. I read them. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of go. Is it within their terms and conditions to say that there are certain things that can and cannot be said? Or
Yes.
Okay.
There's no First Amendment, by the way. People think the First Amendment applies to everything in this country. It does not. It only applies to government action.
So my thing is, if it is incomplete, and this is, I guess, more go the technical route, but if it is in a direct, if it counters what is in the terms and conditions that you signed up to do, like if I were to write something and Facebook were to say, hey, sorry, you're a piece of shit, we're going to kick you off, and for these reasons, and I'd have to accept that those are the reasons why I'm no longer able to use that space. If we kind of take Facebook for granted. We kind of take Twitter for granted.
Sure.
The fact that billions of people are on both of them,
Right.
that you think that we can just use it for just going back however we want to go about it. But if you do something that is absolutely incorrect with how they want the business model to be sustained, then you have to pay the consequences for that. And if that includes saying really despicable things, then
Well,
tough
what
shit.
fascinates me about this is, and I'm curious why this happened, because I'm sure you both have had friends that go, "Hey, I've been off." They ban, like you know how they will say to you something you posted violated.
I had
our
that
rules.
once for like 24 or 48 hours.
And
something like that.
so to me, and I don't know if that's the reaction now, because people would be like, "What the fuck, Facebook?"
Right.
So maybe they're like, "Okay, maybe we should get rid," which they should have done a while ago, and Twitter should do it too. They really
Some
should.
bad people on Twitter.
Yeah, starting with the president. They should,
and they
you know.
won't.
And it's funny because I talk to people. I said, these Trump supporters, you really? They all say, yeah, he should be off Twitter. They all say it, but then stop following him.
But the funny thing is, I pretty much check Twitter the entire day because that's where I get news. That's where I get just sort of information that I wouldn't normally get otherwise. But if we actively know that Jack Dorsey, the guy who created Twitter, is a Trump sympathizer and has said that he called Ilhan Omar to say, hey, JK, I know that Trump, whatever that video Trump promoted was giving you death threats. It happens.
Right.
Like if we know that this is the man behind the platform and we still use that platform regularly, how are we showing him that what he's doing is wrong?
Absolutely.
And that we feel a certain way about it. Like,
Right.
I'm sure somebody out in Silicon Valley is creating the next Twitter, creating the next social media that's going to be the big thing that's going to replace all these others. But before that happens, we kind of have to defer to Twitter and Facebook being the top ones for information dissemination. I don't know many people who are going to Instagram for.
Well, I'm on Friendster. I'm really popular. MySpace, I'm up to like 37 people.
But until those spaces exist, until the new Twitter comes, the new Facebook comes, people are going to keep going to those places.
Right.
But we know if the ones who created them are not nice people, when do we take a stand?
It's an interesting question because to me, it's using the platform for, I think, good things that's important to do. And
Sure.
I mean, I'm not talking about like a Nazi creating a platform. I'm talking about someone that I might disagree with politically. But what about if you call out white supremacy? The one time I got like 48-hour prison on Facebook, I had made a comment about white supremacy, but I said white people instead of white supremacy. And it was around the time maybe of Charlottesville or something like that. And then I objected to them banning me. And then they looked at it and they got back the next day and said, you're right. To me, and then they got rid of my ban quicker. It was a temporary probation thing. But what if you start calling out white supremacy and people start flagging it? Hey, I'm white and I'm taking this is ridiculous. Like at what point? Look, these companies. First of all, there is no First Amendment right to be on Facebook or Twitter. There's a delusion in America that everything is First Amendment. It's not. It's only when there's government action involved, the state, federal government involved, local government, not private things. Like SiriusXM is not. The First Amendment does not apply. The First Amendment itself, unless you have some state action involved, unless you're taking money from a government entity, there's ways of finding that, but it doesn't really work. So neither Facebook nor Twitter have any kind of government action. They can ban you for any reason they want. That's up to them. I'm sure in their rules it actually has something like, and we can ban you for any other reason we determine.
Yeah.
you have no. But at some level, they become the public forum. They become the town square.
If you didn't have this job, if you weren't a columnist, if you weren't actively involved in the way that you are, would you miss Facebook?
I don't know. I like Twitter more. I use Facebook just to post things about the show coming up in my articles.
But like
Twitter, I interact with people more.
So let's say Twitter or Facebook banned you for the 48 hours, and they said, for whatever innocuous reason that they did, and they said, you know what, we're going to keep it going. We're going to, ban you for a week or two.
It was annoying because I wanted to post articles and promote my show. That's why I was upset.
But exactly. So if something were to happen that were to keep you off Facebook, again,
I'm back on Tinder all the time. Tinder all the time.
But a lot of what we here in the studio use Facebook for is promotion and trying to make sure that people understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just assisting us because other people are doing the exact same thing sometimes. And so I'm curious about like how much nicer my life would be if I didn't have to worry about posting things on Facebook or on Twitter because of this constant need to get information out there for myself. So that's why I'm like, I wouldn't be completely devastated if Facebook were to say you are no longer welcome on the like.
But that's a different thing as opposed to being banned. I mean, do you think? The next step really is the government getting involved in regulating these entities. They can't force the First Amendment on them. They're not a government actor. But they could impose laws saying you're a quasi-public forum on some level, at least say that in name, and that you have to have some due process when you get rid of someone, when you ban them from their account, some built-in due process, meaning simply you have a right to appeal, and it's got to be documented in your rules, and that there's a right to appeal beyond that, let's say, arbitration. And some have talked about, even the American Bar Association is now advocating that the government get involved and regulate it a little bit more because they don't want it to be this kind of just completely without any kind of true basis to just say you're gone, you're banned forever from Facebook or Twitter. And for some people, that's their primary means of communicating. And I don't mean people with 20 followers. I mean people with hundreds of thousands of followers. So would you be okay if the government got involved and told Facebook and Twitter how they have to have certain rules before they can ban someone?
I'd be okay if the government got involved in Facebook and Twitter and stayed out of my uterus.
So that's the trade-off? Trading the uterus?
Yeah, if you would just stop telling me what to do with my body, go ahead and regulate Facebook and Twitter. Just stay the fuck away from my body.
Or hit you in your uterus?
Maybe my uterus.
What would you do?
I don't know. I just... The amount of weight that we put on social media is really alarming.
Yes.
And the fact that the president himself also uses that as his mode of
tonight
communication.
Complained about James Woods being banned from Twitter for a week, who's a big conservative actor. You guys probably know who he is, but some people don't. Yeah, but the point that it's everywhere now, should the government get involved? Do we need the government to regulate it almost like a public utility, where there's a limit to what they can do? On privacy,
I'm not smart enough
on
to be able to
banning.
say.
Well, privacy. It's funny you talking
up?
about this because this freaks. I'm sure this has happened to everyone, but there was one day I was watching. My computer was closed, okay, and I was flipping through the channels. I'm in my bedroom, and I was watching the Billy Joel concert. It happened to be on for MSG, right?
Oh no!
Oh yeah. And so I turn it off and I go on my computer and there was an ad for Billy Joel. It freaked me the fuck out. So they're everywhere. That's more so
even an email.
Me and my
Yes.
Google phone
words.
totally understand what you're saying because I will say, oh look, Google even lit up. There are times where I'll be talking in my living room and I have one of those Google Homes,
right?
And I everything I have just so happens to be Google, and so. At some point, I think my roommate made a comment about Brussels sprouts or are you going to make your Brussels sprouts? Whatever. And I opened up later on my Instagram and it was ads for Brussels sprout recipes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
that's the thing.
That's the thing that scares me
Soylent Green
more.
is people. That's all I can think of
that's
from the old Charlton Heston
worse.
movie.
That's worse than anything else because they know everything.
So the privacy is more
Everything.
important to you and protect us from that.
Yeah, and
because you can't opt out. I mean, you can opt out, but you're gone. You can't opt out. You're just gone.
I think it was announced this week something about how Google for your Chrome, for your browsing, that there's a way to change the privacy stuff so it doesn't monitor.
Wink.
But that's the thing I'm worried about.
Wink.
All right.
I love that private browsing. Yeah, like no one at Google knows where you're going. Like they know everything you're doing.
Like, all right, this guy with
Dino
incognito.
Vidala put private browsing, so we're not going to really look what he's doing. It's like,
Well, I always said that when the aliens come down to get us, the way they're going to get us in is that we'll all be looking down our phones, and they'll be like, "Oh, look, Pokemon Go! There's a Pikachu in the spaceship,"
and he's just going.
and everyone's going to go into the
All right,
spaceship.
let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're playing our favorite game, America's new game sensation.
news.
Guess who said it on What Just Happened with Carole Montgomery and Xorje Olivares right after this.
The Dean Obidala Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get dumber. Never has somebody said so much stupid in so little time as Donald Trump does.
Sirius XM Progress.
You're listening to What Just Happened with everyone's favorite host, Dean Obidala.
And welcome back, Dean Obidala Show. We're live Friday, May 3rd. That's right, we're live right to the end. Last hour of the week. And join me, Carole Montgomery and Xorje Olivares. Now it's time for Hit It!
Now, it's time for America's newest game show sensation.
Guess who said it?
It's a game show sensation, folks. That's right, you heard the voice. I'm going to read you two people here.
I love this music.
That's We're going to read you a quote from this week and give you 4 options. We'll see who wins. I'm pitting you against each other. It's like the Hunger Games. Only one of you will get out of here. Here we go. Attorney General Barr is one of the most dangerous men in Washington, D.C. A. Chuck Schumer. B. Ro Khanna. C. Ted Lieu. D. Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
I'll say Ted Lieu.
Right. You got it right.
Yeah.
Ted Lieu.
Ah, boo.
Boo, exactly. Okay,
like Nancy wouldn't
this
say
is
that.
about Justice. Jussie Smollett. This was a quote about him. Don't forget the way this all started. The big lie was that there was something called MAGA country. Try to stage a hate crime using Trump supporters. Was that Sarah Huckabee, as I call her, Kellyanne Conway, Lindsey Graham, or anyone on Fox News?
Anyone on Fox News?
I would say, what was number 2?
Kellyanne Conway.
I'd say Kellyanne Conway.
Damn, he's good. He's good.
Wow.
It's 2-0.
Shocking
Do you want to
myself.
double your bet here? There's no bet. If you lose,
Double
you have to,
jeopardy.
look. If you lose, you have to eat salty products. I'm sorry.
God.
Just
He's
see what
trying to
happens.
kill me.
We're just trying to see what
Help me.
happens. You've got a bowl of chips.
salt.
Here we go. Regarding the FBI, and if you look at what's happened with the scum that's leaving the very top of government, people that others used to say, "Oh, that's one." These were dirty cops, dirty players. Donald Trump Jr., Ann Coulter, Jeanine Pirro, or Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I'd say Donald Trump.
You're both right.
Oh, thank
So
God.
now it's 3-1, though. You have to win the next one. He's got to get them both wrong just to tie. This is tough.
Can I do you have something that I can hit his knees like Sarah?
Use your white privilege. Come on.
My white privilege. I'm a Jew. What privilege do
you
I
used
have?
to be white. Now with Trump, now you're not white. My
I'm
friends
not
who are
white.
Jewish are like Rick Unger's like, I used to thought I was white. Now under Trump, I really don't. I realize I'm not white. And
No,
you're right.
I am not white.
All right, here's another one. Okay. You can't whitewash white nationalism with a bogus argument that the white supremacists and neo-Nazis openly paraded their hate on the streets of Charlottesville. We're protesting the removal of a statue of Robert E. Lee. Was that Chris Hayes, Ali Velshi, Wolf Blitzer, or Don Lemon?
Can you repeat the question, Dean?
The quote, actually.
The quote.
You can't whitewash. You're like Bill Barr. And stuff. You can't whitewash white nationalism.
He just insulted me and called
No, I'm
me
sorry.
Bill Barr,
No,
didn't he? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. You can't whitewash white nationalism with a bogus argument that white supremacists and neo-Nazis who openly paraded their hate on the streets of Charlottesville were protesting the removal of a statue of Robert E. Lee. Was it Wolf Blitzer, Chris Hayes, Ali Velshi, or Don Lemon?
I'll say Don Lemon.
I'm going to say Don Lemon, too.
You're just, but you can't. You can't answer first. You got to let her answer first. All right, last
I'm going
one.
to follow whatever you say.
Last one. No, you got to answer first as well. Last one. This is about Hillary's emails. Oh my God, guys, let it go. 1,000 years from now, when global warming has destroyed the planet and hordes of zombie bandits roam the countryside, a gang of survivors are going to find an abandoned room in the Capitol with these words scrolled on it in blood. What about Hillary's emails? Who said that? Colbert, Trevor Noah, Seth Meyers, or Jimmy Kimmel? It's probably the toughest question. Colbert, Trevor, Seth, or Jimmy? You got to go first.
Trevor.
I'm going to say Seth Meyers.
Oh my God. He's got some.
Wow.
This is embarrassing. You've set the race back. You've just hurt all white people with this one tonight.
Changed
You,
it.
thank God I'm only halfway. No. So look, he
God I'm
works
only
here.
halfway.
Wow.
You know everything. You're like the
try.
oracle.
He does.
He also works on the news thing and hears
Right,
everything.
and I don't. I sit at home and drink wine and watch Law and Order reruns all the fucking time.
The SVU or the regular ones?
Both of them.
Okay.
I watch them all.
I feel like SVU on USA Network was the original binge watching because
Yes.
USA Network would do like all Tuesday long doing SVU.
Right.
But only the Stabler years.
All right, let's. Okay, we have one more break or two more breaks. We have one. All right. Let's speak of lies, shall we not? This week, Donald Trump, I'm not kidding, according to the Washington Post, recorded more than 10,000 false or misleading claims since taking office. And here's Stephen Colbert celebrating that. Clip number 5, please.
It was the statement that pushed Trump over 10,000 false and misleading claims. Woo! Trump has passed 10,000 lies. Man, I gotta tell you, if Trump had $1 for every lie he's told, he would say he had $1 billion.
It's a great line. It's a great line.
So Trump took 600 days to do 5,000 misleading claims, and just 226 days later, he's crossed 10,000. The question is, yes, it should matter, but does it matter anywhere in this country any longer that Trump literally lies on the average of nearly 23 claims a day in a 7-month period? I'm not even kidding. This is the Washington Post fact checkers. Who does this matter to?
Well, it matters to. I literally posted just something about them. I'm so glad I taught my son to be honest and taught him right from wrong, because it doesn't matter. But at least I know that I raised him that way. I'm appalled. It's the type of thing that with everything that he's done, and we can go on for hours about that. The fact that he can lie. Mm-hmm. Then he says he didn't lie. But then there's actual video of him lying. Mm-hmm. that people just that it's become like we should just all be running in the street and eating and killing each other because obviously
that's a 2020 platform. Platform.
But I like it. Just there's not as a parent. There's not a lot of things you want. You want your child to grow up to be a good, honest person, knowing right from wrong. And I feel terrible for the people. My son's 27 now. I feel bad for people who have children now.
Who are growing up in this environment.
In this
lying
environment,
is okay.
like, well, what does it matter if the president's lying? What does it matter if I lie?
Well, because there's a distinction, right? So, and maybe Dean, you can back me up on this. There's times where I'm doing my show, and in the course of talking and just trying to get out information, you might say something that's factually incorrect. You might I might say 45% of people think yada 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 when it's really 20, or you might get your numbers mixed up in a second, and that's technically a factually incorrect statement,
right?
But it's not done callously. It's not done because I'm not maliciously trying to mislead you.
He's maliciously.
Exactly.
Yes.
The fact that a vast majority, if not all of the statements that he makes are maliciously done to try to, pull one over us, that's where things are really, really dangerous. And
do you feel the need to fact check? Like, I feel the need to fact check. This really happened. This is not a joke in my act. This really happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the subway like a week ago, and a guy comes out and asks for money. He goes, my wife died a week ago. I've seen this guy before. He goes, my wife died a week ago, and tells the story. Then tonight he came in. He goes, my wife died 3 weeks ago. And I wanted to go, sir, I have to fact check you. You said last week. I'm not even kidding.
Week.
This really happened tonight. I might do it in my act, but I'm saying in my head, I'm like, that's a lie. Mm-hmm. And it's only because I'm so sensitive, because I think that if we do not push back on this, it normalizes what he wants, which is there's no more real truth. There's no objective truth. There's Trump's truth. And he'll tell you whatever he wants, and everyone's going to accept it. He wants to beat us into submission by all these lies where it doesn't matter anymore. That's why I think we have to keep fighting it all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel bad for younger people, because like I always say, I'm 61. I can see the Grim Reapers waving to me from outside. So this isn't my fight. I mean, I will fight. I will be there with a fucking spear, and I'll look like Wonder Woman. Exactly. I'll fight with everyone. But this isn't really my fight anymore. This is you're talking about democracy is at stake right now, because this is a man, and I've always said this. He never wanted to be president. He's a puppet to whomever is got his hand up his ass. I don't know if it's
Mike Pence or
Mike Pence
Trump,
or
the other Putin guy, right? Exactly.
Who's the guy that has Jeff Dunham? I don't know who it is that has his hand up his ass. But he's just a puppet to make it so that there really is just two classes. There's either the rich or the poor. And the thing about the poor people is they're hungry, so they're going to come after and they're going to eat the rich, and they better be fucking careful.
Well, here's the thing about the rich and the poor. So now that a lot of these different websites, these news sites are having paywalls, people are having to decide, after I reach my 10 free articles, am I going to pay for this? Am I not? Right. And so all the information that we should be reading to counter these lies that Trump is feeding us,
right,
we're not reading, because you go to the Washington Post website and it's middle of May and you're like,
funny. Washington Post.
I reached my limit. Do I want to pay X amount for a month? Maybe not. Same thing with New York Times. Same thing with, there's certain content in the Daily Beast. There's certain content in all these websites that are disseminating news and information that you have to pay for at a certain point. Right. And so if I'm, struggling to put food on the table, or if I'm trying to look at my bank statement and like, I don't know if I can do this. If one of the things you have to worry about next is, the facts that I need to actually save what democracy is. If I can't
afford to save democracy.
I can't afford to save democracy. Even though, what is the Washington Post's things like democracy in the dark?
Democracy dies in darkness.
But I think the paywall's scary.
I agree. So, but speaking of lie, let's go. This is like 40 seconds. We have enough time to play this clip going out? We don't. All right, we'll take a break and come back.
Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
You're listening to What Just Happened with everyone's favorite host, Dean Obeidallah.
I'm everyone's favorite host. I pay that guy every time. So, my friends, we got about a minute and a half left.
Yes,
There's
we
not.
do.
Well, let's play this clip. I want to play that clip. Can we play it? I just love what I love about this is the audience reaction.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
To just listening to Mazie Hirono destroying
Wow,
Bill Barr.
she's
It's from Colbert, though. It's
my
clip
new
10. But
hero.
listen to the cheering, not even the punchline. Clip 10.
After lunch, Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono took her whacks at this piñata of perjury.
Mr. Barr, now the American people know that you are no different from Rudy Giuliani or Kellyanne Conway or any of the other people who sacrificed their once decent reputation for the grifter and liar who sits in the Oval Office.
It's so great. She's not afraid of him.
No.
She is not afraid of him.
Madam, how dare you imply that Kellyanne Conway ever had a decent reputation?
So, but the audio, I mean, the explosion,
Right.
it was remarkable. And I love that. It was organic reaction, and I really enjoyed that a great deal. So, we're wrapping up, my friends. So, if people want to follow you on Twitter, find out more about your tour, where do they go, Carole?
Twitter is @NationalMom, and Instagram is @Carole Montgomery Comic. Go to funnywomenofAcertainage.com. You get all the tour dates. June 9th, the Birchmere, Alexandria,
Washington,
Virginia.
D.C. Jorge?
You can follow me on Twitter @JorgeO, XORJEO, and tune in to Sirius XM Progress tomorrow at noon for my show Affirmative Reaction.
And who's on your show? Anything?
So I have Alex Ward from Vox. We're going to talk about Venezuela, and then comedians Gabe Pacheco and activist Lauren Rankin.
That's great. And just the way you say Venezuela is enough to tune in, folks. It's the coolest way. Have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. I'm on
Thanks,
Twitter
Dean.
@Dean Obeidallah. Of course, drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. Have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Look forward to chatting with you Monday night right here on Sirius XM Progress 127.